From fame to failure, in signing multi-million-dollar deals to being only left in heavy amounts of debt, and how people from the top of the game came crashing down and left their bank accounts in shambles. From a Pro Football Hall of Fame wideout losing over $80 million.
My credit is like in the 500s, 600s.
You got a freaking black card. How is your credit?
But I just don't get it.
To one of the game's most dominant backs to ever step on the field, having interest amounts accruing daily north of $2,000. Today, we take a deep dive into these NFL players that lost most, if not all of their career earnings. Adrian Peterson was once proclaimed to be the greatest running back in NFL history, and after tearing his ACL and coming back 9 months later, only to rush for more than 2,000 yards in that season, it was safe to say that the guy was about to get a fat payday. And the Vikings knew what they had and paid him a 7-year, $96 million deal in 2011. It included $32 million in guaranteed wages and made Peterson the highest paid running back in NFL history. But during that season, he would tear his ACL, and everyone knows his comeback story, and would go on to dominate the 2012 season before being passed around the league to different teams. But the running back can trace his money woes back to some ill-advised investment opportunities. Peterson, who first entered the NFL in 2007, has made an impressive $102 million over his career. But the loans, which were borrowed from private equity firms, have staggering interest accumulation of about $2,207 every single day. Erie County Supreme Court ruled against him in a summary judgment in early 2021, ordering him to pay the $8.3 million he owes. This is a case of Peterson being a leaky boat, unable to bail himself out fast enough. Now, this next superstar would clog up running lanes on the field, but off the field was busy clogging up his house with countless pairs of Jordans and even a lion skin rug. I mean, talk about living large. At one point, Warren Sapp owned over 240 pairs of Air Jordans in his house. And although he made over $75 million during his NFL career, this doesn't mention also money he earned from endorsement deals, reality show appearances, speaking gigs, and a book deal too. But in 2012, would file for bankruptcy due to a loan for a failed business venture to build affordable housing. That forced Sapp to make the call. His total debts added up to $6.7 million at the time, and would not only lose all of his Jordans, but other assets, including a multi-million-dollar house with all his sports memorabilia in it. And yes, that includes the lion skin rug too. But it was even worse.
Breaking news now from our Scripps affiliate in Phoenix. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneer star Warren Sapp has entered a plea deal in his solicitation case. Sapp, as you remember, was arrested last February for soliciting a prostitute during the Super Bowl. His attorney says Sapp entered a plea agreement that will allow him to attend classes rather than face jail time.
While once being a dominant force on one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, would let his luxurious spending habits get the best of him. Like, come on, a lion skin rug? Really? But before moving on to the guy that spent $15,000 at a Cheesecake Factory, answer this question in my community Discord in the description below. And the first correct answer that is subscribed and like this video, I'll make sure to send $5 to and shout you out in the next video. I'm sure our next player would have taken that $5 because this next athlete was a Rookie of the Year and one of the greatest college football quarterbacks to step on the gridiron. But after a few years in the NFL, would fade and would have his fair share of questionable money decisions.
Somebody coming and trying to take your Rose Bowl rings, your trophies, your cars, your house, and you never took a dime from the person. Like, the money never came into my account. That supposedly the loan that I was supposed to get never came to none of my accounts. But you suing me, it was painful. It was hurting. I was pissed.
And squander away his $35 million career earnings. And after taking out a substantial amount of loans, and the common misconception that every NFL player has that yet a large yet finite sum of money would last forever.
When do you learn to say no?
You learn to say no when you're about to get into your second contract and you realize you spent your first one.
Really?
Yes.
In 2014, just 1 year after the Packers decided that Young's troubles were greater than his remaining potential, filed for bankruptcy, and his assets combined for as little as $500,000. I mean, when you have spending habits of $5,000 a week at the Cheesecake Factory as a rookie and buying out every seat in an airplane, no shit, you're gonna have almost $10 million in debt. This next player, though, was a 6-time All-Pro and went to the Pro Bowl 7 times during the course of his 13-year career. Dermontti Dawson was elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2012, and while it's unclear exactly how much he earned during the course of his career, what he lost is well documented. The US housing market crash in 2008 is still one of the biggest economic setbacks the country has faced to this day. A lot of people lost everything they had, and many more were on the verge of being homeless. Dermontti Dawson was one of those who lost a lot of money, totaling around $70 million. And in 2010, Dawson filed for bankruptcy. He owed debts of around $70 million. However, just like the others, he did not have any controlling interest in any of these investments. And while it's true that not many were able to get the better of Dermontti on the field, off the field, he failed big time. This next athlete was a Super Bowl champion, made 3 Pro Bowl appearances, and of course, a huge load of money would make the retirement transition smooth for a lot of people. Not for Mark Brunell. Despite making close to $50 million and retiring in 2011, he found a way to lose it all in the same year. He owed up to $24.8 million shortly after his career wrapped up. He had bought massive, record-breaking mega mansions for himself, including one home that cost up to $9.5 million. But he lost close to $11 million in failed real estate investments. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, an investment in a Whataburger franchise led to Brunell's downfall. He and his wife owed debts of $2.8 billion at the time of filing, and in recent news, earned a small income from side businesses like a kids' football camp to help shoulder the burden after he retired from football. Not everything is bad for him. In 2021, it was announced that Brunell was being hired as a new quarterback coach for the Detroit Lions and is looking to lead the Lions to a successful year in a wide open NFC North. Which brings us to one of the most polarizing players of all time. And as an NFL Hall of Famer, at one point would pay nearly $50,000 in child support a month. And that causes a dent in anyone's wallet. And although Terrell Owens was once a superstar in the NFL and worth $80 million, within a year would lose it all. The famous showman bought a slew of houses and condos around the country, to which he told GQ he believed he'd be able to rent out if they became too expensive. Their mortgages combined for $750,000 a month. And when the housing market crashed, no renters were to be found. He bought an entertainment complex with a casino a part of it in Alabama. And of course, there were splurges on cars, jewelry, and high living, but gambling violated NFL policies. And to make it worse, bingo turns out to be illegal in Alabama and would be forced to sell and lose substantial amounts of money. The biggest loss, however, came from another common riches to rags NFL theme, turning his finances over to strangers who gambled and lost his fortune on highly leveraged, high-risk investments.
Thing is I opened up and I trusted, the people that were around me, that were around my family, and they looked my family in the eyes, my brothers and sisters, and when they spoke to me, I felt like they were speaking to them, that they would have my best interests at heart.
He did admit and said to GQ, "I hate myself for letting this happen," and is just a classic case of trusting the wrong people with money. But he did leave us with some memorable celebrations, even if he was fined $150,000 for it.